They say good fences make good neighbors. In my case, a fence started a war. My wife and I had been planning our trip to Italy for 3 years. It was our second honeymoon, a chance to disconnect from work and stress. For 2 weeks, I didn't check my email, I didn't look at the news, and I definitely didn't think about my property line. We live in a quiet, older suburb where the lots are big, about an acre each. I've lived in this house for 12 years. I know every inch of my yard. I know exactly where the old oak tree is, where the drainage dip is, and most importantly, where the iron survey pins are buried in the corners. About 6 months ago, the house next door was sold to a guy named Ken. Ken is the definition of a male Karen. He drives a massive truck that is always spotless, meaning he never uses it for work. He mows his lawn 3 times a week, and he has never once waved back when I wave to him. He's the type of guy who measures his grass with a ruler. When our taxi pulled into the driveway after the flight home, I was exhausted. I just wanted to drag my suitcases inside and sleep for 12 hours. But as I stepped out of the car, I noticed something different in the backyard. The view was blocked. I walked around the side of the house and froze. There, stretching the entire length of the property line, was a brand new, 6-foot-tall, solid cedar privacy fence. It looked expensive. It was stained a deep mahogany color, and it was completely, undeniably, in the wrong place. I'm not talking about a few inches. I'm not talking about a foot. Ken had built this fence a full 10 feet onto my property. He had effectively annexed a huge strip of my land, including 2 of my apple trees and a small shed where I keep my gardening tools. My shed was now inside his yard. I stood there for a minute, just blinking. I wasn't angry yet. I was just confused. How could someone be this incompetent? Did the contractors not check the survey pins? I told my wife to go inside and unpack. I needed to have a chat with Ken. I walked over to the new fence. I couldn't even see into his yard anymore, so I had to walk all the way around to his front driveway. Ken was out there, washing his pristine truck. He was wearing sunglasses and listening to loud talk radio. "Hey, Ken," I called out, putting on my best friendly neighbor smile. He turned off the hose and looked at me like I was a solicitor trying to sell him solar panels. "You're back," he grunted. "Yeah, just got in," I said. "Hey, I noticed the new fence. It looks really sturdy." "Top of the line," Ken said, puffing his chest out. "Cost me 15 grand. Cedar." "It's nice," I agreed. "But, Ken, we have a bit of a problem. I think your contractors made a huge mistake. The fence is about 10 feet over the property line. You actually fenced in my shed and my apple trees." I expected him to look shocked. I expected him to say, "Oh my God, really? I'll call them right now." Instead, Ken laughed. It was a dismissive, arrogant bark of a laugh. "No mistake, buddy," he said, picking up his sponge again. "I had it measured. My property line goes to the trees. You've been encroaching on my land for 12 years. I just took back what was mine." I took a deep breath. "Ken, I have the original survey from when I bought the house. The iron pins are still in the ground. I can show you exactly where they are. Your fence is on my land." Ken took off his sunglasses and stepped closer. He was about 3 inches shorter than me, but he tried to loom. "Look," he said, his voice dropping to a nasty sneer. "The fence is built. It's cemented in. It's done. I'm not moving it. If you don't like it, you can try to take me to court, but I have better lawyers than you. I have more money than you. So why don't you just accept your new, smaller yard and go away?" I stared at him. He really thought he could just steal land because he had a newer truck and an attitude. "So, you're refusing to move it?" I asked calmly. "I'm telling you to get off my property," Ken said, turning his back to me. "Try to stop me." I looked at his back, then at the shiny new fence. I felt the anger finally starting to simmer, but I pushed it down. Getting mad wouldn't help. Getting even would. "Okay, Ken," I said quietly. "Have a nice day." He didn't answer. He turned his hose back on. I walked back to my house, went into my office, and opened my safe. I pulled out the certified survey I had commissioned just last year when I thought about putting in a pool. I looked at the map. I looked at the coordinates. Ken had made a very, very expensive mistake, and I wasn't going to sue him. Not yet. I had a much better idea. Most people would have called the police right then, or maybe grabbed a sledgehammer. But I work in contract law. I know that if you want to hurt someone like Ken, you don't use your fists, you use bureaucracy. The next morning, Monday, I called Precision Surveying. They are the most expensive, most reputable firm in the county. I told them I needed a restaking of my property lines and a formal encroachment report. I asked them to rush it. 2 days later, the crew arrived. They were thorough. They used total stations, GPS, and metal detectors. They dug down and found the original iron pins from the 1980s, buried deep under the soil. I watched from my kitchen window as they worked. About an hour in, Ken stormed out of his house. I couldn't hear exactly what he was saying, but I saw him pointing his finger in the lead surveyor's face. The surveyor, a calm guy named Mike, didn't flinch. He just pointed to his equipment, then pointed to the ground. Ken stormed back inside. When Mike came to my door, he looked amused. Well, sir, you were right. And then some. His fence is exactly 10 feet, 4 inches onto your property at the widest point. He also built it over a municipal drainage easement, which is a whole other violation. We marked the true line with neon orange stakes and spray paint. I walked out to look. It was beautiful. A bright orange line cut right through Ken's new yard, putting my apple trees and my shed firmly back on my side. The fence looked ridiculous standing 10 feet behind the line. Thank you, Mike, I said. Please send me the certified report. Step 1 was done. Now for the trap. I sat down and wrote a formal letter. I didn't write it as an angry neighbor. I wrote it as a landlord evicting a tenant. Notice to remove encroachment. To the owner of Ken's address. A certified survey has confirmed that the structure, cedar fence, erected on date, is located 10.3 feet within the property boundaries of my address. You are hereby notified to remove this structure and restore the land to its original condition within 30 days of this notice. Failure to remove the encroachment will result in the structure being removed at your expense, pursuant to State Property Code section. Attached, certified survey report. I didn't hand deliver it. I went to the post office and sent it certified mail. Return receipt requested. This meant Ken had to sign for it, proving legally that he received it. 2 days later, the mailman knocked on Ken's door. I was gardening in the front yard. Well, the part of the yard I could still access. I saw Ken sign the green card. He ripped the envelope open right there on his porch. He scanned the paper. He looked at the survey map. Then he looked at me. I gave him a polite nod. Ken crumpled the letter into a ball, threw it into his flower pot, and spat on the ground. He yelled across the lawn, "I'm not moving a damn thing. You're bluffing." I didn't respond. I just went back to pruning my roses. Inside, I was smiling. By ignoring the certified letter, Ken had just given me the golden ticket. In our state, if you notify a neighbor of an encroachment and they refuse to fix it within a reasonable time, 30 days, the encroaching structure is considered abandoned property on your land. I didn't just have the right to move it. I had the right to destroy it. I marked the date on my calendar. I waited. Day 5, silence. Day 15, Ken hosted a barbecue in his new backyard. I could hear them laughing near my apple trees. Day 29, still nothing. Ken walked around like he had won. He thought I was too scared to sue him. On day 30, the deadline expired at midnight. On the morning of day 31, I didn't call a lawyer. I called a guy I know named Big Ul, who runs a demolition and tree removal service. "Ul," I said, "how much to remove about 80 feet of fencing? And do you want some free cedar lumber?" "For free lumber." I left. "I'll be there at 8 a.m. I made a pot of coffee and set up a lawn chair by the window. It was going to be a very entertaining morning. At exactly 8 a.m. on day 31, the symphony of destruction began. Big Ul didn't bring small tools. He brought a bobcat loader and 3 guys with reciprocating saws. They didn't gently dismantle the fence. They sliced through the panels like butter. The sound of wood splintering and engines revving echoed through the quiet neighborhood. I stood on my porch, coffee mug in hand, watching my view return panel by panel. It took exactly 3 minutes for Ken to burst out of his front door. He was wearing a silk robe and slippers, his face a shade of red that matched the stop sign on the corner. "Stop! Stop it right now," he screamed, running toward the workers. "That is my property. I'm calling the police." Al stopped the saw and looked at me. I just nodded. Al revved the saw back up. Ken pulled out his phone, his hand shaking with rage. "You're going to jail," he yelled at me. "This is destruction of private property. That's a felony." "It's not your property, Ken," I said calmly. "It's debris on my land." The police arrived 10 minutes later. 2 cruisers. Ken ran up to them before they could even get out of the car, waving his arms and pointing at Al's crew, who were currently stacking the expensive cedar planks onto their flatbed truck. "Arrest him!" Ken shrieked, pointing at me. He hired these goons to destroy my $15,000 fence. "I want him in handcuffs." The older officer walked over to me. "Sir, can you explain what's going on here? Your neighbor says you're destroying his fence." I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply handed the officer a thick black binder. "Officer," I said, "this binder contains a certified survey from a licensed firm showing the fence is 10 feet over my property line. It also contains the receipt for a certified letter I sent 30 days ago giving him notice to remove it, which he signed for and ignored. Under state code, number, any structure remaining on my property after 30 days is considered abandoned, and I have the right to remove it." The officer opened the binder. He looked at the map with the bright orange line. He looked at the signed receipt with Ken's signature. He looked at the statute I had highlighted. He walked over to the fence, looked at the survey stakes still in the ground, and then looked at Ken. "Sir," the officer said to Ken, "is this your signature on the certified mail receipt?" "Well, yeah, but..." "And were you aware the fence was on his property?" "It's only a few feet." He's being petty. "It's 10 feet, sir," the officer corrected. "And legally, since you were notified and did nothing, this isn't your fence anymore. It's his wood. He can do whatever he wants with it." Ken's mouth opened and closed like a fish. But I paid 15 grand for that." "Then you should have built it on your own land," the officer said dryly. "If you continue to harass these workers, I'll have to cite you for disturbing the peace. Have a nice day." The police left. Ken stood there, defeated, watching Big Ol load the last of the cedar onto the truck. Ol waved at him as they drove off. The aftermath. Ken thought it was over. He thought losing the fence was the punishment. But I wasn't done. I hired a landscaper to fix the massive holes the fence posts had left and to resod the grass Ken's construction had killed. The bill came to $3,200. I sued Ken in small claims court for the cost of the removal and the landscaping repairs. In court, Ken tried to argue that I was malicious. The judge didn't care about feelings. She cared about facts. I had the survey. I had the photos. I had the law on my side. The judge ordered Ken to pay the full $3,200, plus my court filing fees. The epilogue. Ken didn't build another fence. He couldn't afford it after losing the first one and paying me. Instead, he put up a sad, flimsy wire garden fence right on the actual property line. 6 months later, a for sale sign appeared in his yard. I guess the shame of being the neighborhood idiot was too much, or maybe he needed the money. The new neighbors are a lovely young couple. When they moved in, they asked about the property line. I walked it with them, showed them the stakes, and shook their hands. Yesterday, they invited us over for a barbecue. We sat in their backyard, eating burgers, looking at my apple trees which were blooming beautifully, right where they belonged.